Welcome to the Desert Scene with Bonnie G from the Mutual Broadcasting System, where we explore the vibrant world of arts, culture, and entertainment in the desert. Join us as we uncover the hidden gems and shining stars that make this arid landscape burst with creativity. Brought to you by El Portal Mexican Restaurant in Cathedral City, where authentic cuisine meets affordable prices. Diving into the desert oasis of talent and inspiration, here's Bonnie.
And welcome to the Desert Scene. Happy to have you here, and very happy to welcome to the show Melissa Errico. She's a Tony-nominated Broadway star, and she's going to be doing a cabaret show, 2 cabaret shows, June 5th and 6th at CV Rep, part of their summer cabaret series. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, this is such a great series that CV Rep puts on. And is this going to be the first time that you've actually performed in the Palm Springs area?
No, actually, I think just around this time last year, I came to the same space. You know, Adam invited me to the CV Rep, and we had a wonderful thematic show, a celebration of the life and the work and the meanings of Stephen Sondheim.
Oh, excellent, excellent. So let's go. Yeah. Let's go back. I know we've kind of I've found out a little bit about your background. That your first kind of big performing job was in the first road company of Les Mis, playing Cosette at 18. What was that like? Well,
it was something of a adventure because I had just started my freshman year at Yale University. I was an art history major, and I was excited to begin my academic life, and I had just come out of high school. And it's hard to explain why I have this showgirl inside me, that though I was at this beautiful Ivy League university surrounded by the Gothic architecture and all the remembrances that brings of things like Oxford and Cambridge and all of that, I wanted to join the circus. I kept thinking, I said, oh, well, you know, at the end of the year, maybe I'll get a summer job and I could be in a show. So right away at the beginning of my freshman year, I am a serious student, but also I was excited about thinking about the summer. So right away I went on an audition for George M. for this Rhode Island Theater by the Sea. This is a famous story. I was in the hallway auditioning in tap shoes and shorts for a summer theater job at the very beginning of my freshman year in college, and I was seen in the hallway by the producers and directors of Les Miserables, which had just opened to great acclaim. They were putting out the premier national tour, which was the equivalent of the Broadway production, the biggest sets, the biggest costumes, a huge operation. Mm-hmm. And I was in tap shoes auditioning for this silly show for the summer. And they pulled me out of the hall, and I just changed out of they said, excuse me, young lady, would you mind coming in to audition for Les Mis? And I took my tap shoes off, put on a long skirt, and the people from Rhode Island said they knew they'd lost me.
Wow.
So I went in, I was cast on the spot.
Wow, what a great story. Wow.
Right, and they said, can you start in 10 days? So I had to drop out of college, and we had no cell phones in those days, if you recall. So I ran to a payphone to ask my father and mother if I could drop out of Yale, and they just couldn't believe it. So I did so, and I had an incredible time. It was a brand new show. It was the late 80s. Everybody was talking about Les Mis, and it was a magical, and by the way, art history influenced show. Every single tableau, every single act of staging was a French painting that the designers had. So I was having a field day with the beauty of it, the emotions of it, the romance of both the show and also the idea that I had joined the circus after all.
Now, were your parents, how did they feel about that decision that you made?
I think they're traumatized. Traumatized, but maybe not as surprised as you may think, because I had already been addicted, really, to musical theater since I was about 11 or 12 years old. We have a showgirl thread that runs through the family. In the late 1800s, my own family came over from Italy, and their dream was to be showgirls. There were 5 children, and the eldest 2 were very beautiful, and my grandmother had a beautiful singing voice, and her sister was a knockout, not much of a singer per se, but they both made it in show business. My grandmother sang on the radio in the 20s, then was stopped by a jealous husband, but her sister was discovered by Ziegfeld and became a very successful Ziegfeld Follies girl. which connects me right to Stephen Sondheim eventually, but as he wrote a musical about those women called Follies.
Wow.
But anyhow, so my mother knows. My mother raised me saying, we have showgirls in the blood. The showgirls in your blood.
Well, that's nice.
I guess they might not have been surprised, yeah.
So, but at least you had kind of that supportive thread behind you, which is really helpful. Yeah.
And I did go back to graduate.
Yeah.
I did go back and graduate. Good. So, but it is an impossible impulse. I have 3 teenage daughters myself. So if one were to light up and say, this is what I want to do, these are my people, which I did actively say things like that. I was really not raised in show business. So my mother ran out when I was a young girl, and she ran out to the Drama Bookshop in New York City, where I'm actually about to do a wonderful event with Lin-Manuel Miranda sponsoring. I'm doing this wonderful event for my new album. But in the old days, the Drama Bookshop was just this little tiny place full of fetishistic materials and plays. And my mother went there and she bought a book called How to Get Your Child into Show Business.
Oh, good for her. Wow.
It's so silly, but it was a bit of an adventure, Yeah. My mother was thinking, how do I help her with this, So bless her, right?
Yeah. So I had asked you before how to describe your singing style, and one of the things that struck me was a kind of a cross between Julie Andrews and Julie London. So can you elaborate on that?
Well, that's high wishes, but because I like jazz, and throughout my career, I started to work with jazz musicians, right? Maybe not right out of the gate, but in my late 20s, I worked at the Café Carlyle with Lee Musiker, who became Tony Bennett's renowned and long time till his death accompanist. Lee Musiker has a unique ability to play the American songbook and theater music with the most rich chords and musical colors really around the music. I worked with him right away, but then I was signed by Blue Note Records in my late 20s to make my first album with Arif Mardin, is a legendary producer, and Alan Pasqua played the piano. So I always had a love of the pianistic style of a jazz player. My father is a piano player and has a beautiful sense of color. My father's color, though, comes from his specialty is French music, Chopin, Debussy, and Ravel. So I learned about the beautiful chords and the romance of the piano at home, but applied it to musical theater music. So right at the beginning of my career, though I love being an actress, I also really love taking the music somewhere else, personalizing it. For me, feels like adding what jazz people can offer, a little change in rhythm, a little adjustment in, not too much the melody or definitely not the lyrics, but the ambiance of a song,
right? Like
Julie London would have done,
Yeah.
So inside the Julie Andrews actress, vaudevillian, circus artist, but outside and orally, the sounds of someone like Julie London, who's soothing and transportive in her ability to style a song and make it intimate. Theater people, you can see I have a lot of energy, but musically, I have a kind of romance, an inner sort of mermaid, if you will, some other kind of musician. So I play with these things, and I've made a unique kind of niche that seems to be going well.
All right, we're talking to Melissa Errico. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back on The Desert Scene.
Craving a delicious meal that won't break the bank? Look no further than El Portal Mexican Restaurant in Cathedral City. At El Portal, we pride ourselves on offering family-friendly dining with affordable prices on our authentic Mexican cuisine. Owner Victor Lucurcio and his dedicated staff make you feel like part of the family. Whether you choose to dine in, take out, or opt for delivery, you can always count on fresh, mouth-watering dishes that will transport you to the heart of Mexico. Enjoy discounts throughout the week and explore one of the Valley's best selections of tequila to complement your meal. Join us for live entertainment on Friday evenings and consider El Portal for your next special occasion with our catering services. Visit eatatelportal.com for more details and discover why El Portal Mexican restaurant has become a culinary gem in the desert. El Portal, located 1 block south of Ramon on Day Palm and Via Olivera.
And here we are with Melissa Errico, who is doing a cabaret show, 2 different dates, June 5th and 6th, The Life and Loves of a Broadway Baby, as part of the CV Rep Summer Cabaret Series. So tell us a little bit about your show that you're going to be doing.
Well, I title it The Life and Loves of a Broadway Baby. And it's somewhat drawn from the essays that I've been writing for the last 8 years in the New York Times, where I've been chronicling my life in something they've organized into a rubric called Scenes from an Acting Life. What is it to be an actress? And so there's tales along the way, the life and loves of a Broadway baby. I talk about some of the things I've already talked about to you, which is both my life as an ingenue and how it started and how an ingenue ages, how I fell in love with musicals, what that music was, what the first engagement was, which is the music of Rodgers and Hart. So I sing both my biography as well as some of the ideas of the showgirl and an aging showgirl, and what do we keep doing? We keep doing what my Aunt Rose did, which is pounding 42nd Street to be in a show.
Yeah.
It's the idea that you keep going. That's what a hoofer does. That's what a player does. Even in Shakespeare, they pack up and they move to the next town.
Yeah.
So a look at the life, my life as an actress. And when I say the life and loves, there are certain loves, and I think if I had to not talk overtly about the personal loves in my life, but the professional ones really fall into 2 majestic hands. The 2 great composers I've worked most closely with, which was Michel Legrand, and I did his Broadway show, got nominated for a Tony. His incredible French Ravel-based film music, and he did his only Broadway show called Amour. So I worked with Michel Legrand. I love his music. Of course, he made Barbra Streisand some of the greatest songs in the world, with Yentl and so on. And Stephen Sondheim, where I worked with him and did 4 of his musicals, have made 2 albums, a new album. So, and what I learned from them. So an actress learns from the roles she plays, the life she's undertaken, the endurance required, as well as some of the masters and what they have to teach. So it's a kind of layered show that gives you an idea. You should leave with a good sense of both me and what it is to be a woman like me. What starts it, and what do you get from it? How do you process it? There's tons of setbacks.
Yeah.
But you get disappointed constantly, but you never get disillusioned.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You want to feel uplifted. I have to read a quick quote from Stephen.
Oh, for sure.
Stephen Holden, New York Times, described you blindingly glamorous. She delivers Broadway and movie songs with a whopping authority. She can take a Broadway ballad to the moon and back. That's nice. That's high praise. Yeah.
I like the idea of going to the moon and back. Sometimes in artists, you feel like you have a rocket and you just can't get it up to lift, and you just keep looking for the ignition or for a spark.
Yeah.
And that's very nice of him to think that night I had accomplished the trip.
Tell us just a little briefly about your pianist, Ted Firth. Tell us a little bit about him.
Oh, well, he's the rocket ship, you see. There's nobody with more talented, but we are such a pair. It's like my other husband. One of the things you'll get from this is that there's this wonderful relationship between an accompanist and the singer, especially if you've made your life evenings like this. Many actresses come and do cabaret, and they give you the greatest hits, and it's really a side job for them and their other busy pursuits. Ted and I like doing this, and you will see that we have our arrangements are. While they're written, there's much spontaneity and improvisation. There's no more poetic a pianist. He knows theater, but he plays, I'm not going to say wildly, but he's like an orchestra in himself, a human orchestra. So Ted is funny. He's very humble, doesn't talk much. I love to travel with Billy Stritch, who likes to talk and sing, and Ted is very quiet, but he's a tornado of talent. And we've been working together about 15 years. So he's like my other husband. I'm married to Patrick McEnroe, the tennis player.
Yeah.
And there's so many people in Palm Springs who want us to shack up there and end up with a condo or...
Who knows? You never know.
That's part of the reason I keep coming, is we're looking around. Yeah. So I'm a tennis wife on the side, and my other husband is my pianist, and you're going to love him.
Excellent. Well, I'm coming on the 6th. So Melissa Errico, The Life and Loves of a Broadway Baby, CV Rep, June 5th and 6th, 7 p.m. For tickets, call 760-296-2966, extension 201, or go to the website www.cvrep.org. Melissa, thank you so much. I can't wait to see your show. It sounds wonderful.
We're going to have a good time. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Melissa, and thank you to the rest of you. We'll see you the next time on The Desert Scene.
The Desert Scene is a production of the Mutual Broadcasting System and is sponsored by El Portal Mexican Restaurant. Eat at elportal.com.